ever wonder which part in cinema is the most significant moment? For me, across the history of cinema, the development of film language is the most important, as film language narrates story visually to convey message. It represents the true essence of cinema. Technology is relatively a tool to supplement film language, to narrate and present story. My name is Miriam, and today I'm going to talk about film language by looking through the development of genre. Genre is an important part of film language. It is the grammar that polished the language of cinema. The earliest notion of genres date back to the 1930s, when Hollywood studio system established. At that time, films became a product, and different studio was set up. The studio hired crew to produce their own types of movies. All movies are being classified to satisfy different audience needs. The concept of genre was founded. The Hollywood studio became the dream factories, since every studio specialized in one particular theme. The studio system paves the foundation for genres, and later of the cinema, the criteria for categorizing films become clear. Nelmus in her book suggests taxonomy for allocating films. When grouping films, it is vital to distinguish the difference and mapping their common elements. It demonstrates that different genres have their own kind of cinematic codes, as well as narrating stories in their own way, just as Pam Cook advocates in the cinema book. The diverse nature of genres creates diverse generic pleasure. Now, let's take a closer look on the horror and science fiction genres. The horror genre was put on the agenda of film studies in the 1970s. Horror movies are produced to arouse intense emotional response from the audience, since horror films aim at making the audience scared, frightened, and intimidated by representing our deepest fear and repression on screen. How the audience reacts and feels are the keys. The contents evoke the audience satisfaction, and the audience seek to experience fear. Such strong emotions are the unique pleasure that we can gain from the horror genre. Another attribute is that the concept of normality is different in horror movies. In the world of horror genre, the notion of nightmare often appears where the natural turns abnormal.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Plots in horror movies are dreamlike, and what happens within the film certainly can't explain by our common sense, because what is normal in real life becomes abnormal. Here, the movie's Child's Play and Annabelle represent our nightmare on doll. The ordinary appearance of two dolls turns out to be haunted, and a series of abnormal events were brought by them. Apart from that, horror genre is often governed by absolutely inflexible laws. Horror genre has its specific conventions. For example, in majority of zombies films, if you wish to kill a zombie, you must shoot it right through its head. The sun has always been the vampire's biggest weakness. There are laws that wouldn't change, and these usual practices are framing the audience stereotype on a particular imaginary creatures. From the semantic approach, there are certain kinds of iconography that constantly appear in horror genres. Visually, we will often see things like blood, knives, mask, mirror, etc. Elements that are scary to create a gloomy atmosphere. For the characters, what horror movies present are the relationship between the monsters and the victims. Monsters can be supernatural power like evil spirits and ghosts, things that are not existent but could arouse our fear. Monsters can sometimes be human ourselves. Normally, those human monsters are psychopathic, which drive them to the extreme action, killing and torturing people. Typical movies that uses man as a monster are Psycho, The Shining, and Scream. Haunted movies triggered our fear, and the killing scene in horror movies release our repression in daily life. From the syntactic approach, camera shots within horror genres conveys various meanings. The use of haptic visuality helps the audience to experience film, to touch the image with our eyes. Haptic cinema is about tactile, and it is not only about viewing. Different camera shots are used in horror movies to achieve the haptic effects. Number 1, the point of view shots. The point of view shots put the audience from viewing position to the character's position. This allows the audience to fully immerse in the screen, provide them with a sense of reality. It intimates the character's eyes, and we can feel their emotions vividly. Conjuring 2 here uses the point of view shots. By following the eyes of the characters, the audience are dragged into the scenes and walking through the corridor with her to find out the evil spirits. What's inside the room is unknown, and the audience could feel the characters' fear here. The point of view shots also include low angles. The low angle shots filmed from low angles and show how the victims perceive the monster. And here both films uses low angle to show how empowered and hopeless the victims are. Panning shots are used to create tension. The shots follow the characters to create an illusion that the characters are being followed or watched. Here the camera follows Danny, and the audience eyes follow him and are nervous about what will happen next. Haptic visuality is about what emotions can we get from the image, and these shots all arouse the audience's intense emotional response. Science fiction and horror genres are easily to connect with each other, as they overlap some elements and create hybridity. Both horror and sci-fi genres manifest human fear on screen, as well as presenting the presence of monsters. The films such as Frankenstein demonstrates a hybridity. Frankenstein possessed horror elements such as violence and killings. The monster murdered people in town, and the settings of the film, laboratory, took place in a remote area. These are all the usual practices in horror genre. Despite all of the horror conventions, the film can be seen as a science fiction movie, as it is bringing out the message of how technology can cause harm to human community. From the semantic approach, the common settings in sci-fi genres are space, other planets, or the virtual world. Time are often set in the future or past. It can be set in the present sometimes, but usually the narrative of these themes focus on the invasion from other creatures. The iconographic elements that appear in the sci-fi genres are the futuristic technology and weapons that are not yet invented. From the syntactic approach, science fiction is about relationship between technology and mankind. Rather than only talks about the bright side of technology, sci-fi genres brings out deeper meaning to make humans reflect our use of technology. Humans has always wanted to use technology to create utopia, making the earth a better place. However, different science fiction films have told us that relying too much on technology may not be a good idea. In the film I, Robot, humans established a high level of trust in robots, and with the AI is refining every day, it eventually wants to take over the sovereignty of humans. The intention of turning the world of utopia turns out to become dystopia. This kind of themes aim at arouse human reflection on the reliance and trust on technology. The misusing of technology can also result in serious consequences. Frankenstein shows a good example that the scientist has an ambition of using the electricity techniques to create a monster. The host in South Korea also revealed the disastrous consequences of misusing technology. Both films demonstrate the existence of monsters were blamed to the greed of humans.
You have created a monster and it will destroy you.
The damage caused by technology are far-reaching, and this arises humans' fear and uncertainty towards technology. Genre these days is not just about putting films into their right place, not just about making money like it used to be. It's about how the elements combine together to tell a specific story. It's about how it elevates film language to the next level. And this return to our original arguments. Across the history of cinema, the development of film language is the most important.